You guys, we need to talk about setting boundaries. The other day, I posted something on my Instagram. I'll put the post right here. And it was basically a quote graphic to the effect of, girl, you need to stand up for yourself. You need to set boundaries. You're worth it. And it really seemed to resonate with people. It's interesting. Every single time I talk about boundaries or saying no or talking to the people pleasers, where my people pleasers at, it always kind of blows up. People are really engaged in that kind of conversation. And I think it's because a lot of us, especially women, in my opinion, struggle to set boundaries. So I'm assuming that that's a struggle for you. If you clicked on this video, I'm so happy you're here, and I want you to know you are not the only one who struggles with this. So I'm going to be breaking down Boundaries 101. And before we do that, I just want to ask you to subscribe to my channel and make sure you check out all the goodies I have in my description box. I've linked a bunch of different things, my website, my products, and a bunch of different things to help you on your mental wellness journey. And really quickly, my name is Mia, and I make videos about mental health, and I talk about things that are uncomfortable sometimes and things that we need to be talking about more in society. So I'm so happy to have you here, and I hope you will join me in the conversation. Okay, so I want to lay some foundation for you, especially if you're new here and you have no idea why I'm talking to you about boundaries. A little bit about me: I was abused throughout my entire childhood, and basically, anyone struggles with this, but especially if you've been abused. Those of us who've been abused, we tend to be major people pleasers because for us, it's a safety mechanism. If I make everyone happy, if I keep everyone happy, then hopefully I won't get hurt. And if you've never heard this before, this was a huge revelation for me when I learned it. I've been going to therapy for years. I take medication. I'm officially diagnosed with PTSD and depression. My symptoms are perfectly managed, and I'm finally thriving, and I'm so grateful. But I tell you all of this because I want you to know that it has been a journey for me. And one of the most critical components of me working through my trauma and really getting my mental wellness where it needed to be was learning how to set boundaries. And I want you to know that if you struggle with this in the past, or you feel like you just have no idea how to do it, know that that is perfectly normal. You are not broken. There is nothing wrong with you. The reason why so many of us are struggling people pleasers, as the term goes, is because we think that if we keep everybody else happy, then it's going to keep us from getting hurt. But the fact of the matter is that is just not the truth. Especially if you've had a past, or currently if you're being abused, your circumstances have wired your brain to feel that if you please everyone around you, in particular the person abusing you, then hopefully, fingers crossed, you won't get hurt again. And the truth that I've discovered in my own experience is that is not true. So for the entire year of 2018, I worked with a psychologist to set boundaries. And I'm not saying that you need a psychologist or a therapist to do this. I'm going to be sharing everything with you that I learned while paying hundreds of dollars going to a psychologist. But for me, I was really just looking for a psychologist or a therapist, someone to just help me every week to talk to. And one of the things that she discovered was my lack of boundaries in my life was causing the most problems in my mental health journey at that time. So I spent that entire year thinking about, talking about, reading about, learning about setting boundaries. And I had many difficult conversations with particular people in my life who really were running over me, were violating my boundaries, were demanding things from me that weren't fair. And I finally set those boundaries with those people. And what that did for me is something that I want so desperately for you. And basically what that was is it reinforced and developed my sense of self-respect and self-love. So the more you practice setting boundaries, the more you're going to grow in self-respect and self-love. You don't need a ton of it in order to start setting boundaries, but the beautiful thing about boundaries is not only do you get your time and your energy back for yourself, you also start to grow in that self-respect and self-love. And we see all the memes on social media saying, love yourself, take care of yourself. Why is it so hard? Isn't love and taking care of yourself like supposed to be this beautiful thing? Doesn't it feel good to be loved? So why don't we give it to ourselves? Why is it so hard? And what my channel is all about, and what I want you to understand, is your struggle to take care of yourself and to love yourself isn't because you aren't productive enough, or you don't manage your time well enough, or because you don't have the best planner out there. Like, that is all garbage. And I just want to lay that out and tell you some truth right now. It's not really a lack of productivity or knowledge. You know that taking care of yourself would probably be good for you, right? We all do. It's because we feel like we don't deserve it. We feel like there's always something more important to do or someone who deserves that love and affection more than ourselves. And I'm here to tell you that that is not helping you at all, and you will eventually burn out. As someone who just overcame major burnout last year, a few months ago, it took me 3.5 months to recollect myself. I want to spare you from that. And I want you to know the truth, which is that the more you give yourself love and respect and attention, the more you are able to love and respect and care for the people around you. And it all starts with boundary setting. If you have no idea where to start, if you struggle with self-love, if you struggle with self-loathing, I want you to know that setting boundaries is the place to start. And that's why when I really committed to consistent therapy, setting boundaries was the main thing I had to work on. So I want to tell you a quick story. There's a situation in my life where there's some people who are close to me. This is tough. I'm trying to respect privacy, but there's some people who are close to me and they were really not respecting my boundaries at all. They were demanding things of me, expecting me to show up, be there, be nice, but simultaneously were talking about me behind my back, mistreating me, disrespecting my time. And I wanted my husband to take care of it. This sounds really awful, but I think in our society, especially with these like preconceived gender roles, we just expect that our boyfriend or our husband or our man is supposed to set these boundaries. And it really doesn't matter who is violating your boundaries. I want you to know right now something I had to learn the hard way, and something that was really affecting my marriage, my relationship with my husband, is that we can't demand that our spouse or our friend or anybody, we can't demand that anybody else set our boundaries for us. If you're an adult, if you're 18 years and over, you need to take responsibility for your time, your energy, your body, your life, and you have to realize that you have to set these boundaries for yourself. It's fine to ask for advice. It's fine to ask for support and encouragement or even accountability. You can say, hey, love, I really need to set this boundary with this person. I'm super nervous. I really need to make this phone call and I'm avoiding it. Can you make sure that I do it? Can you, not really like that, but more like, I want to have this done by Saturday at 2 p.m. And if I know that you know I'm supposed to do that, I'm more likely to do it. Does that make sense? So you can have people support you and help you and encourage you, but you cannot expect other people to set your boundaries for you. And the beautiful and hard thing about that is that, yes, you are the one who has to have these difficult conversations, but that also means that you are the one who's going to grow in self-respect and self-love. Because until you learn to stand up for yourself, that's just not going to grow and develop. We all know how it feels to watch someone stand up for someone else. It's so beautiful. Maybe you're the one who does that for all of your friends. But what would happen if you started doing that for yourself? What would happen if when somebody, your boss or your coworker, said something unkind to you and you said, I don't really appreciate being spoken to that way. What if you were the one who did that for yourself? And what if you were the one who stopped waiting around for someone else to come and save you? This is probably one of the hardest things I've had to learn, but not only has it improved my marriage because I'm not feeling resentful toward my husband about things, I'm not having expectations that are being unmet, which leads to resentment and disappointment. I just know in my heart now that I'm capable of setting my own boundaries. I'm capable of standing up for myself. I'm capable of speaking up for myself. And I want you to know, type A personality or not, this is hard for everyone. It takes a lot of work and a lot of self-awareness about what's bothering you. And it takes a lot of honesty. So that's the foundation of this. And I spent a lot of time on this particular section because I want you to know that the gains of setting boundaries and being the one to do it yourself and not expecting other people to do it for you are just immense. So a really practical tip that I want to leave with you as well when you're setting boundaries is make sure that when you start the difficult conversation, you start by saying what you appreciate about the person or what you love about the person or just the fact that you love them. This depends on who you're talking to. So for example, I had to set a boundary recently with somebody who I had spent some time with, and I just wanted that person to know before I set the boundary that I really appreciated that they took time out of their weekend to spend with me. Or when I had to set a boundary with a close family member, I told that person, look, I love you and I enjoy spending time with you. It's really important to start out a conversation that way because otherwise the person's just going to feel attacked. And when you validate someone's worth and what they mean to you or what they've done for you first before you go into the boundary setting, you open them up. You open up their hearts and their minds and their ears to what you have to say next, even if it's a little uncomfortable. So I highly encourage you, even write out your response, like write out what you're going to say to this person, and always make sure that your response is not attacking. It's not intentionally hurtful, even though you could still be kind and the person could still get hurt. You can't control how someone else feels from what you say, but you can control what you say. So make sure it's not hurtful, and make sure you start by saying what you love or appreciate about that person so that they know that you're setting these boundaries out of love and that you're not just out to like ruin their day. So the next practical tip I want to leave with you is to be specific and honest. So I have a story about this. Recently, I was invited to an event and I said yes right away, and I knew I shouldn't have. And then I remembered that that same day I had a party to go to that evening that I had already committed to weeks before. And instead of just telling this person, hey, I know I said I could go to your event, but I really can't, I have a party to go to that night, I kept coming up with so many excuses. I kept saying, oh, I don't feel well. Oh, my husband's busy. And I said, oh, I don't know if my kids can do the drive. And to be honest, my kids couldn't do the drive. I'd have to drive them to this event and then to the party later. And that would have been 4 hours of driving. And instead of just being honest, which was that, hey, I can't go to your event because I have a party to go to, I didn't want to say that because I didn't want to sound like, oh, I'm preferring to go to this party over their party. But that's the truth. And you don't have to say it in a way that's degrading or mean. I had RSVP to this party weeks before. And this event, to be honest, was like just like oh, okay, I'll go. Like I didn't really think about it or look at my calendar. And I ended up having to give this person so many excuses because I wasn't just being straightforward and honest and to the point about why I couldn't go. And then what's extremely embarrassing is that at that party, people who are friends with this person who I said, eventually, like the person called me and I said, yeah, sorry, I just need to take this day to myself. I'm tired. That wasn't true. I was going to a party later. Like I did rest the first part of the day, but what I'm saying is I was stretching the truth. I wasn't outright lying, but I was stretching the truth and I was avoiding being specific and honest. And then people who knew this person who invited me to this event showed up at the party. They were apparently also invited to this party. I was so mortified. I was so embarrassed because I knew word was going to get back to this person that I was at a party after I had just told this person the morning of the event that, oh, I'm going to stay home today and rest and take care of myself. So it ended up completely backfiring in my face. And I just want you to know that even though I've been working on setting boundaries for 2 years now, actively setting boundaries in all these areas of my life, I still mess up sometimes. So this is for me and for you. Be specific and be honest. You don't have to say, look, I just really don't want to volunteer for your event. I'm just not interested. Like that may be the honest truth, but you can find a way to be kind and honest, okay? You don't have to be mean and honest. There's a way to be kind and honest. And I just want to say that when I say be specific, I mean, don't just say, oh, I'm busy. I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. That is just a cop-out, and that, honestly, people can see through that. You're not always busy. That's an excuse that can really make you seem like a flake, and you don't want that. You want people to respect you and your boundaries. I highly encourage you to just say, look, Grandma, I'm not going to go to the party this weekend. I really need to take a break. And if that's the honest truth, then say that. Don't say, Grandma, I'm busy, I can't go to the party. Tell Grandma that you are staying home because you want to have a restful weekend with your kids or something like that. Okay, and the next tip is a little bit touched on earlier, which is don't say yes right away. You know, if you know the answer is a no, just say it immediately so that you don't waste your time or their time. But if you aren't sure and you genuinely want to see if you can help somebody or be there for somebody, say, thank you so much for thinking of me, or thank you so much for inviting me. Let me check with my husband, or let me check my calendar, and I will get back to you within 24 hours. So I'll get back to you by tomorrow morning. You know, don't say I'll get back to you and then wait till the day of to say, no, I can't go, because that's also very disrespectful of your time and that person's time. But it's okay to give a little 24-hour notice. It's okay to give a little I need 24 hours to figure this out, or I need to look at my calendar. You know, when you get a text message from someone, you don't need to respond yes right away. I know you are a nice person and you want to make everybody's day, but you're really not helping people when you say yes immediately and then you have to take back your word. You have to take back what you said, and it's even worse when you do it at the last minute, which I've been there before, and I don't want you to make that mistake. So definitely make sure that you give yourself at least 24 hours before you commit to anything. So, another concept that was really important that I learned in therapy is that you are the owner of your time. And I remember in college when I was complaining about how busy I was, and someone came over to me and said, everything on your calendar, everything that you're doing is your choice. You are the owner of your time. I got so mad at this person. I was like, how could you say that? I have to work. I have to go to school. I have to do all these things. I have to do these film projects on the weekend because I need to build up my resume. But she was right. I didn't have to do any of those things. I could have chose to drop out of college. I could have chose to stop working. I could have chose to not be on all these film sets on the weekend. I used to be a film producer. That's what I went to school for. She was right. And I think that it's not going to serve you or empower you to act like everyone else is forcing you to do things. You know, be honest. Be honest with yourself about the fact that you are the owner of your time. And the reason why this is so important is because it empowers you to say no when you don't want to do something. You realize that nobody, not Aunt Janice or Uncle Harry or Grandma whatever, can make you do anything. No one. No one can make you do anything. You are the owner of your time. You get to choose what you do, where you spend your time and energy, and what you do with your life. It really is up to you. And while that can be scary because you're worried you're going to make mistakes, it's extremely empowering because it helps you to realize, no, I don't want to volunteer at that thing. No, I don't want to drive 2 hours to that family party. No, I don't want to spend Christmas there because it makes me feel like crap every time I go there. You know, you're able to say, this is my life and I'm choosing where I go and what I do and who I spend my precious time with. And I'm going to decide whether or not I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. So that's such an important mindset shift to have, that you are the owner of your time, because it makes saying yes or no that much easier. You don't have to check with anybody. You know, it's your life. So, I mean, sometimes, yeah, I check with my husband because we have children together and we need to make sure that everyone's being taken care of. But other than that, you don't need to call your 15 girlfriends to see if you should commit to this job or this gig or to go to this event or to have a date night. Like, you don't need to ask everyone's permission. You give yourself permission. Another really important thing that I think a lot of us don't realize is that if you set boundaries with somebody and they try to guilt you or manipulate you, or you're doing something because you feel obligated, or you're doing something because you're expecting something in return, that is not healthy. The thing about boundaries is that people should respect them. If someone has good boundaries, they're gonna respect your boundaries. And if they're trying to manipulate you or guilt you into doing something, or if you're doing something because you're scared of losing somebody's love, or you're scared of disappointing somebody, I want you to know that if not doing something or not listening to somebody is going to make you lose their love, then they don't really love you. Love is a choice and it's supposed to be unconditional. So if you decide not to commit to something at church, people should respect that. And people with good boundaries should respect that. And if you disappoint some people, that's a part of life. Aren't you regularly disappointed? It's really unhealthy for you to be in a relationship with anybody who just expects you to do things because they're holding fear over your head. If you don't do this, you're going to lose your spot on the team. If you don't do this, we're going to stop inviting you to these parties. If you don't do this, we're not going to be friends anymore. You know, that's not love. That's not real friendship. That's manipulation. That's using fear or obligation tactics to get you to cave and to break your boundary to yourself and with other people. Break your promise to yourself and the boundary you have with other people. And that's a sign, that's a huge red flag that you need to let go. And that doesn't mean you won't be hurt. Maybe you really liked going out on these girl dates, or maybe you really liked volunteering at church at this specific event. But if the people you're around are using those horrible, disgusting manipulation tactics to get you to do what they want you to do, you're better off without them. Disappoint them. Be okay with disappointing people. It's really one of the best things that you can learn to do. I just touched on this, but I want to reiterate that people who have healthy boundaries will respect your boundaries. And if you set a boundary and someone's being super disrespectful about it, that is another red flag that you do not need to spend time with this person, or that you need to be even clearer and firmer in your boundaries. So that is kind of the scope of Boundaries 101. If you want me to do more videos like this, or if you have any questions on this, please leave me a comment below. Let me know. I love talking about this because truly in 2018, it was one of the hardest years, full of tons of tears and crying and difficult conversations, but I have never felt more free to live my life how I've always wanted to live it. It's a daily process. I'm always shedding more fear and obligations off my back and learning to set better boundaries, but it's just so freeing, so liberating, and so good for your mental health. So please try it. There's also a really amazing book called Boundaries that I highly recommend you read. I'll put a little picture of it here and I will link it down below for you. That was one of the first books I read when I started setting boundaries in 2018, and it really helps you see yourself more objectively. As the author is describing boundaries and what it looks like to not have any boundaries, you're like, oh, that looks a lot like me. And it kind of walks you through why you should have boundaries. And it's from a more biblical perspective, because a lot of Christians believe that we should serve and that we should love and care. And we all should. But a lot of times that can be taken too far, and we think as Christians that we're supposed to be doormats for people and that we're never supposed to take care of ourselves. And that's just not the message. So it's really cool because it's written by a psychologist and he also comes at it from a biblical perspective. So definitely check that book out. If you really like this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. If you want more content like this, I have an entire lesson in my Motherhood Thrive Guide course all about boundary setting. It is super thorough. There's a workbook that goes along with it and a Facebook group. So if you are struggling with boundary setting, or if you need some more support, I have a Facebook group for my students of this course where you can go in and ask me questions, and I will coach you through the process of setting these boundaries. And there's no time limit. As soon as you become a student of mine, I will be your coach. So you will get access to this private Facebook group where there will be other women in there who are working on setting boundaries and doing the hard work of freeing themselves from all these obligations and expectations. And I really hope that you'll consider taking this course. Please leave me a comment below, because one random commenter will win a scholarship to my course. My entire heart and soul went into this. It's basically everything I learned from therapy over the last several years, and boundary setting is a huge theme in it. So like I said, setting boundaries is really hard, and having accountability is one of the best things that helped me set those boundaries. And I also wanted you to know that for the month of February, so for the next 2 weeks, I will be giving away a guided meditation that you can listen to right before you have a hard conversation, where I basically walk you through why you're setting these boundaries and why it's important and what it's going to do for you and all the benefits that are going to ripple throughout your family and your life. And it's just something that you can listen to calm yourself and center yourself and encourage yourself to go do these hard things that are really going to reward you in incredible ways for the rest of your life. All right, thank you so much for watching this video. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.